Assalamu alaikum and welcome. In this lesson, we'll explore Arabic silent letters and learn how to read text correctly. We will discover together the certain cases in which letters are written but not pronounced. What are silent letters? الحروف الصامتة. Silent letters in Arabic are letters that appear in writing but are not pronounced when reading. This is caused because of the merging of letters or the dropping of letters in natural speech. And this happens in many languages. So when we're speaking, certain letters, if they follow each other, it becomes difficult to pronounce each one of them separately. And so what happens here is that the weakest letter is dropped from pronunciation. It's silent. And so it's there in the written text, but not pronounced, whether in reading or in speaking. Let's take some examples for that. Let's read these words. And if you notice, I've color-coded some letters in light gray to show that these letters are not going to be pronounced when reading the words. Let's read the first word. الشمس. الشمس. So if you notice, I didn't pronounce the lam. It becomes silent. It was dropped. Why? Because it's difficult to say الشمس. الشمس. It's kind of difficult. So what happens here is the lam, the weakest letter, is dropped from pronunciation, and we jump from the alif to the sheen and sort of make a short stress on the sheen instead. So once again, read it. الشمس. الشمس. The second word also, it's بسم. بسم. The alif here is silent as well. Ism means name. But when you combine it with B, we don't pronounce the alif, so it becomes bism. Bism. In the third line, you notice there are two words, and the end of the fi, the ya is silent, and the beginning of the second word is also silent. So what will happen here is we're going to read the first and jump from one letter to the third, the first letter to the fourth letter. So we're going to say fil bahr. Fil bahr. These two letters are silent here. And the last word amr, amr, the waw is totally silent. Okay, so these here are examples for silent letters. There are three main types of silent letters in Arabic. Recognizing them is very important for proper reading and fluency. Of course, there are also some other exceptions, but the main ones are these three. So it's mainly Hamzat Wasl, which is an alif in certain cases when it's called a Hamzat Wasl. And then there's the Sun Laam. This is actually the lam in certain cases in the definite article. When it appears and is followed by sun letters, it becomes silent. And there are certain weak letters. These are the long vowels. If they appear in certain positions, they become silent. Just like here, this here is a long vowel. It's in the end of a word, and it becomes weak and dropped from pronunciation. So these are the main three types of silent letters. The first type of silent letters is Hamzat Wasl. Hamzat Wasl. Now Hamzat Wasl is just a plain alif with no real hamza included with it. It's just an alif. Despite it being called a Hamzat Wasl, there is no real hamza along with it. Now the Arabic hamza sign is drawn like this. This is the Arabic hamza, and it's pronounced That's the glottal stop sound. Hamzat Wasl doesn't include a hamza with it. It's just a plain alif, and that's the indicator, that's a sign that shows you, now this is here a Hamzat Wasl. So in some cases it's pronounced, in others it's not. It becomes silent. And there are two types of hamzat in Arabic. There's Hamzatul Wasl, Hamzatul Wasl. So here where the silent letter in some cases appears, and you see there's no real hamza here. The second type is Hamzatul Qata'. Hamzatul Qata'. You see the letters here are drawn with the hamza sign, and they're never silent, they're always pronounced. So it's always akala, and ila. So Hamzatul Wasl is the only case when silent letters appear. of course, there are 3 positions in where Hamzat Wasl appears. It appears in the Arabic definite article. The Arabic definite article is al, meaning the. It's attached to the beginning of a word, al. And the alif in the beginning is always a Hamzat Wasl. The second case is in the certain verb forms, the past or the imperative. So in some verbs, the Hamzat Wasl appears, like in here, uktub. This is a command form. Uktub, uktub. This here is also a Hamzat Wasl at the beginning. Remember, it always appears only in the beginning of words. So it's uktub, uktub. And the third and fourth case is it appears in certain nouns or demonstrative pronouns. The certain nouns, there are 10 nouns actually, and the demonstrative pronouns, these are the التي and الذي. So also in these nouns, okay, these words start with a Hamzat Wasl, where it's sometimes pronounced and other times not. Now let's practice reading some words with Hamzat Wasl to know when it's pronounced, when this Hamza is pronounced, or when it's dropped, so it becomes silent in this case. The main rule is if you start with it, you pronounce it. If not, so if it's preceded by any other word, you drop it. So it becomes silent in this case. So let's see the first line. The first one, al-kitab. Al-kitab. So I pronounce the Hamza here. Al-kitab meaning the book. If it's preceded by one word, even as small as wa is the Arabic and. It's still a full word. So when I pronounce this here, I will say wal-kitab. Wal-kitab. So you see, it's like I'm jumping from the wa directly to the lam and dropping the alif. I'm not saying wa al-kitab. I'm saying wal-kitab. So I'm actually totally dropping it. The second word, uktub. Uktub, meaning write. So if it's preceded by wa, it becomes waktub. Waktub. So you see the Hamza here is silent. I'm not saying wa iktub or wa uktub. I'm saying waktub. Waktub. So the Hamza is dropped. As for the third word, ism. Ism, meaning name. If I say and name, I say wasm. Wasm. I don't say wa ism. I say wasm. So I'm jumping directly from the first letter to the third. Alladhi. Alladhi. Meaning that or the one who. So I'm pronouncing the Hamza here. When it's preceded by wa, it becomes walladhi. Walladhi. So I'm not saying wa alladhi, I'm saying walladhi directly. So in the second case, in the second column, each Hamzat Wasl here is silent because it's preceded by a word. The second type of silent letters is the Sun Laam. Al-Laam al-Shamsiyya. Al-Laam al-Shamsiyya. Now, Al-Laam al-Shamsiyya appears in the Arabic definite article al. Al is the Arabic definite article. It means the, and it's attached to the beginning of Arabic words. You see these examples here? They include the Arabic definite article. And remember we said that the Hamzat al-Wasl, the alif in the Arabic definite article is a Hamzat Wasl. So you see, I've color-coded them here in light gray to show you that it can also become silent. Well, the Lam in the Arabic definite article is in some cases silent, but that's only when it's followed by a sun letter. Now, these are the 14 Arabic sun letters. Now, so these are half the Arabic alphabets are sun letters, and the other half are not. They're called moon letters. So these 14 letters are sun letters. And why are they chosen? They're chosen because they share an articulation point with the Lam. So they're pronounced at the tip of the tongue, the same articulation point. So it's difficult pronouncing each one of them separately. So it's difficult pronouncing the Lam, for example, with the Ta, and the lam with the tha. So what usually happens here is that they merge together. What happens is that in this case they will be merged together, or more precisely, the lam will be dropped because it's the weakest letter, and the sheen and the following letter, in this case the sheen, will be pronounced, and actually with a short stress on it. So if we want to read these words, we'll say here ash-shams, ash-shams. So you see, I didn't pronounce the lam because it's kind of difficult saying al-shams, al-shams. We can't read both letters separately, so we'll drop the lam and focus or stress on the sheen. The second word, also the dal, you see here, is a sun letter. So we'll say ad-dars, ad-dars. I didn't say al-dars, it's kind of difficult. I say ad-dars, ad-dars. That way you sound more natural. The same thing with the noon. The noon is also a sun letter. It shares the same articulation point. So we drop the lam and say an-najm, an-najm. The last word, the same, the ta is a sun letter, so it becomes at-talib, at-talib. So you see in this cases with the sun letters, the lam becomes a sun lam, and it's silent in all cases. And this is very important. If you need to recognize this, because usually in most of the spelling mistakes, the lam here, which they don't hear, they omit, and it's such a common spelling mistake. Notice that there's also a shadda on the third letter, on the sun letter. Now the shadda is there in these words because actually there's a slight stress on these letters, on the sun letters, but also it's also an indicator, a sign that the lam before it is actually a sun lam, and so always silent. Sun lams are always silent and dropped in pronunciation. Keep that in mind when you're spelling or reading these words. One other final note is that some students explain that for them it's fine pronouncing al-shams and al-dars. If you're not a native speaker, in the beginning you might find it not that difficult and you wouldn't understand this rule. Well, I always compare it to the English a and an rule. That's also something related to the English phonics. The a and an. So they say if the word following the a, it starts with a long vowel, you need to add the n in the middle, make it an instead. So you can't say a egg, a egg. It becomes more natural if you say an egg, an egg. So you don't pronounce two vowels after each other. The same thing, you can't say a orange, you say an orange, an orange. It becomes more natural in speech. So I always compare that English rule to this sun and moon lam rule in Arabic. The third type of Arabic silent letters are the long vowel, because they are weak letters in certain cases. The long vowels, حروف العلة, حروف العلة. Now, حروف العلة are three in Arabic. They're the alif and waw and ya. The alif, when preceded by a letter carrying a fatha, so it's read a, like qala. The waw when it's preceded by a letter with a dhamma, so it's read u, surah, and the ya when it's preceded by a letter with kasra, so it's e, like in feel. So long vowels in Arabic, they come in the middle or end of words. Okay. Before moving on to explaining the case when they become silent letters, weak letters, I want to add that Al-alif al-maqsura is treated the same as any other vowel. Now al-alif al-maqsura here is the last example, where this is an alif maqsura. It's the form of a ya, drawn like a ya, but without dots, so it's pronounced like an alif. So this here is a, bala, bala. So it's the same thing, it's treated like any other long vowel. Now let's look into the case when these long vowels become silent. So that's only in one condition. It's when these long vowels come at the end of words and the word following it starts with a Hamzat Wasl. So it's this first rule. It has to apply in order for these two letters to become silent. So for example, here you see these 4 examples. These first words end with long vowels and the second word starts with a Hamzat Wasl. So let's read them. You see they become 2 letters, 2 silent letters following each other, and they won't be pronounced. So if we want to read them, we say, let's practice together. Let's start with the first. This is read هذا الكتاب. هذا الكتاب. So you see I'm jumping or dropping these 2 letters. I'm not pronouncing them. I'm not saying هذا الكتاب. No, I'm saying هذا الكتاب. I've dropped both letters, and that way you sound more natural. The second line reads في البحر. في البحر. So I've also omitted these 2. I've dropped them and haven't pronounced them. I'm not saying في البحر. No, I'm saying في البحر. The third line reads يدعو الطالب. يدعو الطالب. So you see here, not only 2 letters are silent, it's 3. The 3 of these are silent. That's because this letter is a sun letter, and so the lam before it is a sun lam, it's silent. Remember we said that the shadda shows you, it's an indication that this is now a silent lam right before it. Okay, the final line, it reads إلى البيت. إلى البيت. So I haven't said إلى البيت. No, it's not natural. So I've said إلى البيت.